What is this place, eh? What's the score here, pal? Is this a theatre? Oh, well, what do you know, eh? Me in a theatre. I never expected this. I'm on stage. Aye. I'm an actor now. Here, watch this. Right, I've just realised I'm the only person facing this way. You lot are looking at me. I'm the centre of attention. Now, that makes a change. Right? Me. I'm Sparky. Sparky Harris. I know everything there is to know about getting into trouble. Trust me. I think this is going to be weird. Well, not to labour the point, so to speak, but, well, I'm in mid-abscondence from the pleasure of Her Majesty. Get my drift? Oh, and apparently I have agnosognosiac. They tell me it's a deficit of self-awareness or something. See, the thing is, I don't actually know if things have actually happened to me or not. So yes, right, okay, whatever. Let's press on. I had a dad, which was technically and genetically true, I suppose. But I elaborated when I was at school. So instead of saying that he was just a cowardly weak individual for just doing what known as, I said, your guy was around, but just worked a lot, you know. Now I know that my mother was friends with the mothers of my friends. But come on, let's deal with this. Mothers don't have an understanding of the psyche of a complex 7-year-old like I was. So no doubt she didn't think she needed to check with her son regarding the creating of a fictitious father. So I suspect that everybody else knew, but never had the heart to tell me. Now, to the more recent, present day and inconvenient dilemma I'm currently in. Well, see, it all started with a parking ticket. I just went into the shop for a second. A loaf of bread and a Twix. 3 minutes max when I got back out the shop. The ink was still wet on the ticket, and I saw it just flapping away underneath my windshield wiper. I looked around. Then I clocked the smarmy wee uniform bastard, just swaggering off, smugly tucking away his electric book, thinking that he'd scored another brownie point by booking some innocent motorist. He saw me coming though, and he tried to get away by making a quick right-hand turn at the corner. I got a good running start and I raced after him, and I brought him down, crashing into the pavement. The piece of shit just flipped there like a cardboard box. I kicked his legs, and I smashed his daft walkie-talkie to bits. A few days later, I went to jail. They dressed me up in this hideous jumpsuit and trotted me out in front of the governor so he could stare at me under his bifocals while he muttered some HMP psychobabble. They let me phone my brief bully though before they threw me in the cell. Bully wasn't answering as usual, so I tried to leave him a voicemail before I got cut off. Bloody voicemails. He thinks he saves money with them machines. He's an idiot. When I got to see my view behind the bars at Berlin, there was nothing to write home about. So his ad, no pen, no paper, no home. I didn't find that especially inconvenient. I made the acquaintance of my cellmate, who was a Pakistani origin wannabe rapper. He called himself Derelict. He spelled it D-E-R-E-L-I-K-T. He banged on in his ridiculous verbal patois about his hood, even though he's fae Balornock. Now, because me being a white guy, I wouldn't be welcome man to buy any stuff at his uncle's shop in Wallacewell Road. He'd modified his highly non-trend prison gear to look a bit more straight. And he had a headband on, covering up this crazy attempt at a funky hairstyle that was more sad than cool. I told him that I could do 50 push-ups, and I had to rearrange his countenance if he didn't ease up on the verbals. He went swaying back and forth, you know, like an arthritic Labrador with a bag of messages for Aldi and each shooter, rapping like a tit. I won't hesitate. If you get me alright, grab that dinner plate until you learn how to navigate, whether you is gay or straight. I'll make you my playmate. I didn't understand the half of it, but I knew it wasn't particularly nice, and as I'd already told him, he shot his trumpet, which he patently ignored. So, I knocked him over, and he accidentally banged his head against the metal toilet. He scrambled to his feet, but I just pushed him back. He hit the toilet again. This went on for a while, and each time he kept hitting the lip of the loo, getting worse by the minute. Eventually he fell unconscious. Then I got transferred. So there I was, in the dining hall of Stockton in Edinburgh, when a posse of slack-jawed loons tried to cut me open like a watermelon by brandishing a broken comb. I swiftly sidestepped them though, and I disarmed them with a series of kicks and thrown biscuits that were wet with lukewarm tea. They were such a sad lot. They made me look like Bruce Lee. One tosser deflected a dry biscuit off his rubbery chicken neck and he started greeting, because apparently that was sore. Oh, diddums. And I got transferred. Out in the exercise yard at Peterhead, I was walking the circle and listening to the whoosh of the nearby sea or the high walls. I tried to climb the east wall one afternoon, but the barbed wire proved to be a bit too tricky, even with a pair of stolen oven mitts. That place wasn't so bad though. You could sit in your cell and listen to the waves and the birds outside, and it got kind of peaceful, you know. Later, in the yard I was walking about and I heard this kind of buzzing sound. Nobody else was outside. And then I looked down and I saw this tiny remote control car make its way toward me. I reached down and I picked up the toy, and it had a note attached to it, telling me to head over to a blind spot near a bench at the far end of the exercise yard. When I got there, I heard a voice. A woman's voice. I looked around cautiously, but I couldn't see anybody. And then, up here, the voice said. And then I looked to the top of the wall, and I saw the face of the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She was smiling and motioning me to climb up a rope she was chucking down. I was like a rat up a drain pipe. She grabbed me and I kissed her. We fell in love. We escaped arm in arm and spent the rest of the week having quality sex in our one-bedroom flat. We got married in a quick private ceremony performed by a voodoo priestess who just happened to live up the stair. Before the honeymoon, my new wife took me to John Lewis to buy some stuff. In the home entertainment section I saw my mugshot on about 50 screens. The colours were off on a bunch of them, and my face was on green or brownish colour. Sick looking. Some security guy spotted me, and he tried to be sneaky by coming up behind me, but I saw his face on one of the TVs, right next to my own reflection. My televised face. I quickly pretended that I was looking at some computer equipment, and as he was just about to make a lunge for me, I spun round and I swung the computer mouse in his face. It worked like you'd expect. quick and stealthy. I couldn't help myself though, and I started screaming and swinging the moose around my head like a lasso. A salesman and 3 hefty big sods acted fast and came at me. One had a big hefty pair of scissors, and they were able to dodge my swinging mouse attack and cut me deep in the belly. And I got my... The paramedics came and got me, took me to hospital, where I got myself 32 stitches and a couple of staples. Then I went back to jail. In strange ways, I spent most of the time writing letters to my beloved. See, I know her name is Kathy, but I haven't learned how to spell it yet. See, I don't know whether it's K or C it starts with, so I just decided to call her Athy. Athy is a cousin who works for the security company that makes the keys for the prison. She used her connections and kissed me a few concealed keys in one of her visits. I was able to retrieve them without much hassle. She even put them in a wee pink envelope with my name on it, and the ink stayed on even though it was in my mouth and covered in saliva for a while. We planned to meet the following evening in a nearby Tesco car park. The next morning at breakfast, I told all the lifers that I'm as good as out. Lifers don't give monkeys. They're in for good. I told them I'll get one of their wives to pull the same trick. But most of them are gay now. They won't do anything with a woman. Still, I got a tattoo to show my loyalty to my prison brethren. A heart with a ball and chain around it. Cutting a long story short, I made my escape the very next day. In a nearby Tesco car park, I found Athy's rusted out blue Volkswagen. She was asleep inside, with an unopened tube of Pringles in the passenger seat. I tapped on the window to waken her up. We embraced quickly and then made for the exit. Once we were on the motorway, we were chased by helicopters and loads of police cars. We ran over a strip of spikes and spun wildly into an industrial concrete wall, flipped over the barrier into the opposing traffic, smashed into a pig-full truck which straightened us out. We continued to drive on our burst tyres though, and we found the nearest exit where we lost our pursuers on a rural road somewhere in the dark. Unfortunately, we ran out of petrol, so we had to trudge across a muddy field. And suddenly, out of nowhere, we were hit with spotlights. Helicopter blades were blowing dirt in our eyes. Fucking stop! Somebody shouted. The way the cops were talking, I knew they'd been tipped off. I bet it was her fucking snarky cousin. Little grassing bastard. In the back of the police car. Me and Athy, we stretched our arms from behind our backs and we held hands, and then I'd realised I'd lost my ring. Then I went back to jail. I did a lot of thinking when I got put in Wakefield, the monster mansion. I thought about love and second chances, and practising yoga, and the state of onions after a week in the larder. There was that many important things to think about at that point in my life. That was one of the toughest prisons I'd ever been in. I even had a job, like I was going to be there for a while. I was put in charge of popcorn and refreshments. I had to make sure that the kernels didn't get burnt in the popper for the film screening for the selected few on Friday nights. I'd been contemplating transforming the hot oil into a burning chemical weapon. But I never quite got into that one. The last film I saw in there was Rain Man. I liked the bit when Dustin Hoffman freaked out when Tom Cruise tried to get him on the aeroplane. I think I'll do that the next time they try and get me in jail. I'll screech in a high voice and recoil and figure out some crazy nonsense in my head. Aye. I'll just could be like that guy. I could be a good actor, don't you reckon? Cops will get all embarrassed and start looking about. And people will wonder what they're doing to me. People will point and shout something like, "Hey, what are they doing to that poor man?" And then the handcuffs will get thrown away. Result!